Blurry photos happen for a lot of reasons, from camera shake to not focusing on the right spot. Well, in this practical edit, what we're going to do is we're going to explore why blur shows up in photos and what we can do to avoid it the next time. And if you happen to have a photo that you really need to make it sharper, I'll show you a couple ways on how we can do that. All right. Well, first, let me talk about what we're actually going to be working on today. First, we'll start with understanding why the photo is blurry. Then we'll talk about how we could use AI sharpening. Then we'll also explore some of the manual sharpening tips. And then I'll show you how we can enhance eyes, especially for portraits, to bring out that detail, and then mask only the areas that we want sharp. So those are going to be the topics we'll be discussing. Now let's start first at the very beginning, how to hold your camera. Now I know it sounds simple, but I see a lot of people not holding the camera the proper way. Here it is, elbow in tight. Now this right here I'm going to make a tripod. Bring the hand in tight here. Now if you notice here, everything is tight. When I bring that viewfinder up to my eye, now I have proper form and the camera is stable. Now I know some people like using the viewfinder, and that's fine. Same concept. Notice, elbows in tight, I'm holding it here. When I start seeing this happening or this, you're just asking for motion blur or camera shake in your photos. Now, what do we do when you're using a phone? My sister sends me a lot of images that she has servers at restaurants do for her, and they're blurry because most of the time it's either one-handed and it's in low light situation. They're not properly holding it. Hold the camera just like you would. You hold the phone like you would your camera. Elbow in tight. Here it is. Now I have it strong or solid. I could turn it sideways. Same thing. Hold it to where you feel comfortable. Elbows in tight. There's your shot. So holding the camera, whether it's your mobile phone or the camera itself, is critical. Another area is right here. Applying the wrong shutter speed. In this case right here, here's the final. Look at it before. Here it is before and after the eyes. In fact, let me get to the original image. Here it is. Oh, look how horrible those eyes look. I thought everything was going great, and I made the critical error. Could have been two options. Could have been 1/50th of a second, or I didn't focus on her eye as I took the shot. So that's the other thing you do with your camera. You have a focal point. Now, the newer cameras, thank God, have auto eye detection. That's amazing. Where it finds the eye in the scene, you take the picture, it's perfect. If your camera doesn't support that, then use a little toggle switch here to move the focus point onto the subject's eye. Click on it, and now you take the shot. The old school way of doing it would be to focus and recompose. Focus on the eye, recompose, take the shot, keeping your finger on that shutter release so it's always focused. Move it. Now it keeps that focus. You take the shot. So in this case, this is definitely caused by either slow shutter speed or I wasn't focusing directly on her eye. So in this case, we have to fix it. So let's start, and we'll use AI to help us. So right here, Structure AI is going to do great for this image. Now watch. Boost is going to increase the finer details in the image. Whereas Amount, I'll go to an extreme, is going to adjust the overall image itself. So notice this. When this is set to 0, look what Boost is doing. It's taking the finer details and enhancing it. And Amount is going to do the entire image. Notice it didn't affect her skin tone. But it also didn't affect the eyes, which I want sharp. Here it is, before, after, everything around her. And that's because Structure AI is human aware. It knows that there's a human in the scene. It's not going to make the skin itself look really bad. So that's one. That's one way of doing it. And I'm going to reset it. And now let's go to Super Sharpen. Super Sharpen is that one tool we'll go low for now. It's that one tool that's going to analyze the entire image, and it's going to try to figure out what's in the scene. In this case, it's a portrait. So it's going to do its best to enhance the face, the eyes, the lips, the nose, and at the same time, do an overall universal sharpening of the entire image. Now, that may work in our favor. It may not. That's where masking comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to see the image, the areas of the image that we really like, that it helped, and then we'll remove the ones that we don't like. So overall, let's look at what it did. Ready? Here's before and after. Here's before, and give it a second to render after. So it's doing a pretty good job. I'm not liking what it's doing to the face here, and this face enhancer AI, it's a hit or miss. Because once again, it's using AI, and look, I think it went way overboard. I'm going to shut that off. And masking. Brush, erase, and I'm going to get rid of some of these areas here. Maybe over the eyes. I'm going to lower the strength. Actually, over here, I'm going to keep the strength at 100%. Get rid of that. There we go. And I'll dial it back just a bit. And let's see what it does over here. Yeah, look how it's bringing it out. So I like what it's doing overall. Now, this looks good, but because it's a portrait, and we already tried over here the face enhancer, and it's not doing what we want it to do. Here's our other option for a portrait. Come right down here to the portrait tools. Face. I love this new feature that we've added, and that is I'm going to change the color of her eye. So we're not really sharpening it. We're just replacing the iris. So from here, let's go with gray. Look at this, and I'm going to dial it way back. Right about there. And we can explore different options. Brown, a little too much. Notice that's at 0, but it's still, look at it. I'm still able to change the eyes. Green's not going to, well, it looks nice, but that's not her eye color. Either gray, I like gray, or I like hazel. You know what? Hazel looks more natural. And then I could work on enhancing it more, but you know what? I don't want to make it look too fake. So now that we did this, another option I can do is I'm going to remove the dark circles under her eyes. So when we do things like this, what it really does for us, look at that. Let me zoom in. We'll do before and after. Here we are, before, after. When we start doing things along those lines where we're enhancing like the light underneath her eyes, removing some of those shadows, it's giving the illusion that we're making this image, a blurry image, even sharper. Now, if all else fails, and you look at this and think, you know, I really want to get a little bit more in-depth with it, the manual approach. I can always come back up here, and we're going to use details. Details is the original sharpening we had. Now I'm going to go to an extreme again. Here's small details, but look what it's doing. That's why Structure AI and Super Sharpen were invented, because it doesn't mess with the skin tones. Well, small details, look what it's doing. So you have to make sure you use it sparingly. I like to come in here, the small and medium. I usually make a little arrow like this, and it does a pretty good job with what I'm looking for. If I want to remove detail, if I go to a negative, look at this. A negative is going to smooth out the skin. And look how it's making the eyes. It makes the eyes look like they're being sharpened. Because again, we're contrasting it. We have a little blur with the sharpening part. So in doing that, look what the small details did. All right? So once again, before, after, and that's how we can make sure that we have the images that we've already taken to make them even better using some of the tools in Luminar Neo. First step, though, make sure we get it right in camera and only rely on Luminar Neo to fix something like, in my case, that you made that simple mistake that you know you're not going to do next time. All right? Well, hey, leave comments below on one of your hardest images you had to work on and what you did and what tools you use to make it look sharp.